Hey guys, this is RTX 2019. We're here with one of our few interviews of the weekend with Greg Miller himself.
Is this the real intro?
This is the real intro.
Oh, I thought you were giving the example. Hey,
No.
it's me, Greg. I'm back.
I learned a long time ago with Twin Stick Radio that you don't actually
Just meander in.
Yeah, you just sort of meander in, and then people like kind of figure it out halfway through
Sure.
you saying stuff.
Right, like you record for an hour and a half, and you're like, oh, that was the podcast.
Yeah.
What? It was so easy.
When did Trey give us the intro? So I want to talk to you real fast about something.
Do
it. So we have a mutual friend, Mr. Patrick Dees from FCFL.
The FCFL, Patrick Dees.
So we met him at our first RTX, which was like 2015.
Okay.
And the entire time that he was trying to set up with the deal with you guys, he was just texting me about it. He's
Yeah.
like, you can't tell anyone. It's a top secret, but we're trying to get Greg Miller.
Yeah.
I have lunch with him tonight.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy to see you guys working with
Us
Patrick
too,
Dees.
dude. We can't wait for the FCFL to get its first snap going.
Are you guys, you're doing the contract signing in like an hour, right?
We're doing the contract signing today, of course, is that if you remember when we announced we owned a football team,
Yeah.
a young plucky guy from Austin, Jack Patillo, came out and said he wanted to be our water boy. And I said maybe not. And I think today we are having the contract signing. We're gonna put him through the paces, see if he can actually move the water around the table, if he can bring it to Nick, if he can bring it to me. We'll go from there.
Right, got to get that high quality H2O.
Exactly. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Speaking of Jack, I was watching the center stage stuff yesterday.
Sure.
I don't think I've ever seen anyone command a crowd the way that you and Jack did during
thank
your
you.
thing. It was really impressive just to see you guys just sort of like he walked out and I was like, you were already owning the stage, and Jack came out and I was like, what is going to happen?
Can the stage hold these two people? That's my favorite thing about doing these events, and we're gearing up for our live podcast here in a little bit, but even that's not a podcast as much as it is a stage show. You know what I mean? I think having the luxury of doing this for so long and doing so many panels, I've learned from my own mistakes of how to come out and how to get people into it. And you have to set that energy level. You have to make it clear of what you want out of them and what they can do. Because I think, by nature, human beings, their idea is that they want to sit there and listen to something they like. So they sit there in silence and listen.
Yeah.
Which then if you have new people on a panel, they think they're bombing and they don't understand. It's just this whole chicken and the egg thing. So for me to come out and be an idiot in the front usually helps.
Yeah. Justin, feel free to interject.
Oh, yeah. No,
Literally anytime.
this is
Fucking
literally
do something, Justin.
Oh, my God. Make content.
I don't know. So
How do I get one of these twin stick shirts, by the way? I want one of these twin stick shirts.
I will literally make you one this next week.
XL.
XL.
Thank you.
I will mail it
I'll send
to
you
guys. No, you don't have to send money.
It costs
I mean,
money
if you
to
want to
ship.
send money.
Weird thing. So I work at a sign shop now where they do screen printing. That one's heat press, which is
okay.
really it turned out really, really nice.
I like it a lot. Yeah.
Did you not make yours? You're not wearing yours.
I didn't. So I was gonna go home. I texted
Brand
my
synergy,
boss and was like,
come
"Hey,
on.
can you print this out for me?" And I was gonna go home and make it yesterday, but I was so tired. I fell asleep at like 8.
Trey, I washed this shirt last night because I only have one. You tell me you couldn't even make one?
No,
Dedication over there.
I couldn't do it. So I wanted to talk to you. We've been doing this for 4 years, right?
Sure.
And I think that we're starting to get to a point with this where we love doing it, and we're probably going to keep doing it even if we're never like having our own panel at RTX.
Yeah.
But I was wondering, like, you started kind of funny like right before
2015.
same year as us. How has that journey been for you guys, and like sort of where are you at? I mean, like, you guys have one of the best communities ever. You were just talking about it on the other podcast. But like now that like YouTube and everything else is really full, like where are you guys at sort of on your creator journey?
We're way further ahead than I thought we'd be. You know what I mean? Like I that's always been the story of Kind of Funny, I think, is that when we launched it was very much like, okay, get ready to eat ramen. Maybe this isn't going to work. And then it was off to the races. And then a year and a half later, it was like, okay, we have to move into a studio or we're going to kill each other. And you keep seeing we're going to have real employees. We're going to hire different people. We hired Barrett this January. I brought him on board, right? Bringing the whole team up to 8 people now full time, 3 contractors, with Andrea, Gary, and Fran. And we've just been, anytime we set up what the milestone is, we blow past it so quickly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think this is the first time, in January when we did another fundraiser and we're like, hey, we don't, I know it sounds funny because we do Patreon, but we don't really fundraise. We don't really say, hey, we need money.
Yeah.
Like now that we hired Barrett, we want to hire more people. Well, that means we need a new studio. That means all this stuff. So we're looking for money this year to future-proof next year, right? And I think that's the first time in a while we've had that level of forward thinkingness or clarity, I think, where it was like, cool, I think we, have identified the next hire. I think it's, we know that probably the next 2 actually out of who we want out of things. And that's great. And we haven't talked to those people or started those conversations or anything. But it's like to know where that is, to then know what we want out of a studio, to sign the lease extension this year, knowing that next year, like hopefully by the time it winds down, we'll already be out or about out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Into the next thing. That's all super exciting and crazy. And it is that weird thing of I was walking home with Barrett last night, and we were both drunk, obviously, because that's how you are at RTX. But it was after the giant Kind of Funny team dinner in the private room that Joey set up because she's amazing and makes sure everything works at Kind of Funny. And I was having the conversation with him, and I had to be like, just remember too, that, like, we don't know, and I'm talking about me, Nick, and Tim, we don't know what the fuck we're doing. Like, you need to tell us the simple stuff. Because I always go back to the Andy story of his first GDC. When GDC rolled around, I went to, like I always do, to a million parties or whatever and a million events, and I was at the Indie Mix game night, and all these people were there, and it's like weird to go to these things and I'm there to see the games like I used to at IGN, but then people also want to meet me and have photos or, blah, blah. And I was talking to a bunch of people there that were developers publishing their game or, showing their games, but we're also Kind of Funny fans.
Yeah.
And I texted him and I was just like, dude, like, we're killing it here. And so many people love party mode. They keep asking where you are, haha. And he's like, yeah, I would have loved to have gone.
Yeah.
And I was like, did we express to you that, like, you can go to any of this stuff? He's like, no. I'm like, you didn't even understand. We don't know what it's like to have employees. Like, I'm just used to Nick and Tim do not want to go to these things, so I go to them.
He was just sitting by the phone waiting for an invite. Like,
totally.
Okay, cool.
It's like this year I had to be very clear of, like, on the counter, like, hey, you're invited to anything. You let me know what you want to go, everybody, and you can go to it. But then, like, coming home last night, where I forget what Barrett said. It wasn't actually something like that, but it was similar. Just like, understand that, like, I don't know what it's like to come to RTX as an employee of Kind of Funny. You know what I mean? Like, I only know what to come here as a bunch of idiot friends who do stuff. So, like, you need to tell me what we're not doing or what we could have done better or how that works. And that's a weird conversation for me to have with anybody.
Yeah. Well, because it's just sort of like opening yourself up to that person's feelings, and it's like,
Sure.
well, I didn't know how you felt.
Exactly. It's just like I've never been there. I've never been in that situation. And even at IGN, right? It was the same. It was the same idea of, like, we went there, but I was usually a team leader for PAX or whatever at IGN.
Yeah.
Like, I knew what we needed to do, what we needed to accomplish, what we were going to do. I just don't know what it's like to assign stuff or have people feel like, oh, I should have done this, but I didn't do it because you guys were doing it. Like, oh shit, what do you want to do?
What are you, like, when you guys are looking at growing your team, what are you guys looking for specifically? Is it pretty much straight out of the community, or is it like, people that you've already worked with in the San Francisco area?
Oh, great question. I think it depends on the role and what it is. You know what I mean? I think really the contractor basis for Games Daily really opened our eyes to something we didn't expect, where it was just like, for the longest time, oh man, we're going to have to wait to hire a person to do this, and then being able to bring in 3 different people, each week for different shows and do different things was really, holy shit, like, this is awesome. And what a great way to help our friends who are already building their own brand, whether it be What's Good or FM3 or now Gary Wood on Twitch. Like, what a way to bring them in and help them do their thing, but also, help us with what the financial realities are, is that I can't hire 3 full-time hosts, right?
Yeah.
And so I think when you start looking at the next roles and stuff, I think just like Andy is, just like Barrett is, right? Like, we're never going to hire somebody who's just on camera talent. Like, that's never going to be the case, right? Yeah. You're always going to come in and do something else and have to and be a jack of all trades, because that's what we all are. And for a team this small, it just would never make sense to bring in somebody who doesn't do that. The thing I'm always pushing for is, I think the next person we bring, I really want to be heavily games focused. You know what I mean? Like, that is similar in the same. I would love somebody else on top of me and Tim who can come in and do Games Daily. Yeah. And that's not to say that Andy and Barrett can't, but they're also not the exact same thing, right? They don't have that pedigree in terms of what they were podcasting about before, I think, in terms of, like, we were covering E3, right? You look at you guys, you look at Snowbike Mike, you look at all these people that are like, OK Beast, right? Irrational Passions. People who are making day in, day out weekly video content and covering it in the same way I used to cover things for Beyond or IGN in general. Like, that's to me is an exciting proposition of bringing someone in younger who's already doing that kind of stuff to not only cool now there's a Tim's so busy running different deals for us and his life and everything. It's like he's always worrying about the other shows he's on that day, as he should, right? And so it's hard for me to bring him in. And even when I'm gone, I try to usually bring in Fran or Andrea to fill my role of gathering the news, so Tim can just come on and talk about it, which he's great at. But I'd love somebody else in office, in studio, who is that, like, hey, this is my focus too, and this is what I'm doing, and what shows do they want to make, and what shows do they want to create.
Well, I know 2 guys, so
we have our resumes here, actually.
I break the pool cue in half and toss it. We have one position.
So you were talking about your contracting talent. So you've had on Andrea since you guys started kind of
since
the
the
games
beginning
lately.
of Games,
You got pause on real fast. Gary Whitta is awesome.
He's the best.
It's great.
Was it freaky when he sort of went on his Battlefront rant earlier, or not Battlefront, EA rant about Star Wars earlier this year to see like that? In
It
the
was
headlines?
cool, right? Of like,
Yeah.
oh man, the guy who wrote Rogue One
Yeah,
is like
on your-
fucking
yeah,
laying into Star Wars. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, that's awesome. That's what Gary's great at. You know what I mean? Like, I want people to come in and be opinionated, and I love that Gary is opinionated.
It was so crazy to watch on the outside. I was like, man, that is like just breaking through like that. You have like the director or writer of Rogue One, writer of Rogue One, like sitting here talking about it. It's insane. What's it like having Fran like actually on the team in there weekly?
Oh my God, it's awesome. I think it was so exciting on a personal level and friendship level to see Fran get out of IGN. Not because IGN's bad, obviously, but because it was the same thing that kind of happened to me before I switched over to being a full-time host, where the problem I had at IGN, and I think other people eventually have in some respects, and I'm not at all. This is not me demonizing IGN, but my problem when I was at PlayStation team, right, was cool. You're so good at this job. Now you get to run PlayStation team. Awesome. Which meant I'm now managing people. I'm now planning the channel, which means I'm not doing the things that I was great at that got me here.
Yeah.
And so when you flip up to a management role, I think it changes how you act and what you do and all these different things. Even to think about like, remember like Pear started like reviewing Nintendo games, and now Pear is whatever his highfalutin title is. Yeah. So I only ever knew Fran. I got there just as the old guard was burning out. Fran was already running the video team and had already had a year under its belt. So like, I never knew Fran as a personality, a video game reviewer or anything to that extent. Mm-hmm. So once he left IGN and started streaming on his own and started coming on Gamescast, and like when he would start doing those initial Gamescasts, and we would send over the doc in the morning of or the night before of like, here's what we're gonna be talking about, and he would see what I'd played, what Andrea had played, what Tim had played. He'd go buy those games and play those games, and then he'd come in so he could say something about those games, and it's just like, oh shit, like I forgot that Fran isn't just a video game fan, and isn't just good at video. He's great at making videos about video games and having an opinion about video games, and has that wealth of knowledge. And it was like, cool, like that's something you never saw get tapped at IGN, because the bench is so deep that if you need somebody to be on a Nintendo conversation, I think only Tim ever grabbed Fran to talk about Smash.
Yeah, I was listening on the, because I'm driving from New Braunfels, which is like an hour south of here.
Sounds made up, very made up town.
It kind of is. It's basically New Braunfels. It's like a German like Texas town.
Okay.
Basically, they're famous for just like tubing.
Sure.
Like, okay. It's one of the best
tubing,
like, rivers.
Sausage.
I was gonna say they got sausage.
They have like a cider festival in December. That's always a big deal.
Oh, yeah. And there's Worst Fest. It's literally just all sausage.
Yes. And alcohol.
It's
that
worst.
too. Hey, there you go. You already figured out the tagline.
I'm ready to play.
There you go. I forgot what I was going to ask.
You were listening to the podcast on the way.
Yes.
Oh, I was listening on the way over here, and it was really wild having like Fran and Andrea. They're a really interesting mix of people, because like they both are. I don't know how to describe it.
Andrea takes no shit.
Andrea takes no shit.
And they are both
Fran
opinionated.
is very stubborn.
Yeah, exactly. They are both stubborn. I'll give you that. Andrea is stubborn as well.
But it's nice to have like I think Kind of Funny is a really cool place because of just like the positivity that you guys leak. Just as like, even when you're talking about things you don't like, I'm like, I can't tell if they like this. Like, I can't tell that they don't like this.
Yeah.
But Fran and Andrea are just I like them together just because of how much they sort of like butt heads in a really good way.
Yeah, totally.
And it's not, I at least on the outside, it doesn't seem bad or anything.
Oh, no, not at all.
Where people can have those conversations, but still the overall tone is still positive.
Sure.
You know, you're not putting more negativity out in the world.
Yeah. They just don't agree about stuff, right?
Yeah.
And the destiny, weird shit. That's the other thing too. Is like, that's the strength and weakness of Gamescast, is the fact that we all go play our own thing and come back and talk about it. So it is like Tim's going on and on about Smash Brothers Spirits, and I'm like, cool. I think I would not go get these. I'm not into Smash Brothers, so like, what am I gonna? You know what I mean? I can't be on that level of it. I really enjoy it when something like Days Gone comes around, right? And we all play it, and we all have an opinion, and we all have a take on it that you can sit there and have. Or what was it, Mario Maker, even like bringing Barrett and Andy, like they have a conversation about it with Tim to the extent of something that's cool. But then I do love going out and being like, Moonlighter's awesome, and here's why, and tell you why.
That was also, I hadn't even heard of that game, and I was listening to you talking about it. I was like,
dude,
pull up to a stop sign. I'm like typing it down real fast.
Yeah, you can't forget.
Yeah. Speaking of positivity, though, I thought it was really interesting. I think it was on your the episode you recently did of We Have Cool Friends with Josh.
Sure.
You were talking a little bit about how there's sort of this outward perception of your personality as being sort of big and super positive. And you were talking about how you just like go home and that's not the person you are. And sometimes you have trouble like communicating that difference with the audience.
You crank it up for shows, right? You're a little bit, I always say like when I'm doing, and I should let you finish your question. This is why everybody hates me on the internet. But what I always say like, me on the shows is just me dialed up to 12 or whatever. Like I'm still that thing but it's like, it's the same thing of like right now it's so great to be doing this and having one thing to worry about, right?
Yeah.
Because like because my phone's vibrating in my pocket, but I think it's just I'm talking about when they're gonna meet. But it doesn't matter. But if it was at home talking to Jen, right, I'd be looking at my phone and doing that thing and talking to her and doing this thing and then also thinking about the work thing and then this tweet just popped. Let's put it into Slack and like shows. You have to focus.
Yeah.
I love being able to just focus.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, because I keep forgetting all my questions.
Well, I keep interrupting you.
No, that's okay. It's like this every year where I'm like talking to you and I'm like zoned out because I'm like Greg is like sitting here. I'm just used to listening to you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm falling into right now. It's like literally I'm falling into that.
It could be like a confessional.
Yeah, there you go. But I was wondering like how hard was it to build that positivity and build that personality and then maintain it. Because I think that's something that like we struggle with all the time, where it's really easy to sit down after you've had like a really crappy week and just be like, oh, this game stinks, and talking about this news stinks, and EA is the worst.
Or you just fall into like the negative, because that's what mainly gets reported on, right? Like this game's bad, here's why it's bad, and here's why you should hate it. So we kind of fall into that too sometimes. Of we'll get going, and like that negativity just kind of snowballs on itself.
Yeah, I mean, it happened naturally. I think coming into all the shows, right, it was about performing in the way of like, what is this show and what is my role in this show and what am I doing? And I think when when it's like a Days Gone thing that I didn't enjoy, I can sit there and talk about not enjoying it and not be like, fuck Sony Bend, they really fucked this up. And it's just like, I don't like it because X, Y, and Z, here's why. And then Andrew would be like, well, I don't agree with that. And you go back and forth about it. And I mean, it's a weird thing because I don't think of myself as an overly positive person, or I definitely think so on Twitter, and to that extent of like, I'm not going to trash talk other people. I'm not going to get into the mud and fight with you. I'm going to mute you and move on with my day and not care. I'm not going to quote tweet you and call you out and do and like that kind of shit.
Not going to make fun of someone's hairline.
Exactly right. Yeah, like I'm not like what. You have an audience. You have this thing like what do you want to present to them? And so my social media I treat the same way I treat the shows, where it's a performance, I guess, to an extent of here's what's going on. When I have something to say, obviously that is negative or biting or whatever, I'll put it up there. But it's never negative to be negative for negative sake.
Yeah.
Right? You'll never see me be like, fuck this person in particular because of X, Y, and Z. It'll be like, well, I don't like this game. I don't like this thing. I don't like this decision this person made. But it's never going to be a personal attack about it.
Well, I mean, you sort of almost had a fuck this person moment with the E3 news that happened last week or the week before with them accidentally kicking you out of E3.
No, I didn't. That wasn't a fuck this person.
No, but that was what was impressive about it. Because, like, watching on my side of the screen, it was like, had that happened to me, it would very much be like, I would be freaking out on the internet about it. See, your reaction, even on Kind of Funny Games Daily, like, you could obviously tell that, like, you were stressed about it.
Yeah.
But, like, just to see your reaction, I was like, man, he's handling this so professionally. It's awesome.
It was just the thing of, like, I mean, it's apples and oranges in a way, right? Yeah. Of like, I'm lucky enough to have the reach I have and be the person I am. That like, again, like as soon as I got it, it was an eye roll of like, what are you talking about, number one? And there's no way this is gonna stick. You know what I mean? Like, are you kidding me? Like, I knew it would be solved in no time, and that's why, like, when I did the tweet, I don't think the tweet was funny enough in retrospect because I did get comments of it like, oh, why don't you handle this like a professional email then? And I was like, you didn't really get that, like, I'm putting the video in there. This is more of a wink and like, I'm not really, and I also tagged the wrong agency. The European Space Agency is like, what the fuck is happening?
They're just getting notifications back and back.
Exactly, right. And it was stressful to the extent of just like something I didn't want to deal with on a day where I had, I think it was 4 shows and everything else. Because it was that, I remember I left the house in a huff because it was like, so much to do, got to get there, got there. I'm like, I'm already short on time for Games Daily, and then I have to do Comic Club, and then I got to do whatever. And so it was like everything has to go perfectly. Yeah. Like I open my email, and the second email is you're banned from E3. Like, this is but I saw it as a moment of like I got to do something with this. I can't just not do anything about this.
Was there a moment of like, did you take it seriously for a split second?
Well, I mean, it looks like a spam email when I first got it. Like it totally looked spammy, and I was like, what? Oh, no, this sounds pretty real. And so then it was never. I think there was the seriousness of if it didn't happen, what was the next play? You know what I mean? Where I was gonna Devolver literally was in my inbox being like, dude, if they really ban you, come stream from there. And I was like, sure, we're gonna do the DX like invade WCW thing of me rolling over there, like making a big joke about it with fake mustaches and crap. But like, I would have leaned into it, but it also wouldn't have stuck. It just wouldn't have made sense in any way of how this is gonna happen.
And we're running out of time. So sad. But I did want to talk to you about one last thing. So you, Nick and Tim have been working together for a while.
Yeah.
Back out of the spare bedroom when there was 4 of you guys. From, I guess, the outside looking in perspective, you guys have like the perfect relationship. Even like watching your guardian, it's like it seems like you guys are like a group of brothers, like just sort of annoying each other and messing around. But like behind the scenes, how did you guys sort of develop that relationship? And was that easy? Was it natural, or was it something that you guys had to work on?
Great question. It's all of the above. I think Nick and Tim came in already really close, where at IGN they were, Nick was Tim's mentor. So there was already that part. And then there was a lot, obviously, as the video team changed and grew there, of Tim teaching Nick more of how YouTube is, and Nick seeing in Tim, like, I got to trust this kid. Like, he understands what he's doing, and he actually is getting results and stuff to that effect. So for me and them, right, it was very interesting because I'd known Nick for years. Obviously, we had been at IGN for years. I had, I partied with Nick, obviously, but I hadn't had serious conversations with Nick, right? Like, it's funny to look back now of like Nick's bachelor party and wedding. I wasn't invited to, and it's because like we weren't friends, like, and we weren't enemies, but I'm a work acquaintance.
Yeah,
I'm a coworker.
Friendly hellos.
Yeah, it wasn't like we did projects together, and it was up at noon where that switched over, where the first time we ever had like real business talks, right? Where it was like, we're pitching this new like late night show. I want you to host it. I was like, oh shit, okay, cool. And then it was me, him, Drucker, and Altano, day in, day out every week doing the show together, planning it. But even that wasn't, a friendship in terms of us hanging out or doing anything together. And I always, our story is very much like the Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
In terms of, we're a bunch of clowns who started a business, right? Went into business for themselves and did this thing, and it's successful. But I always remember watching the Ghostbusters as a kid and being like, why don't they all sleep at the firehouse? Why don't they all, you know what I mean? Like, there's the one scene in Ghostbusters, one of them there, but like Venkman having his own apartment and stuff like that. I was like, well, that was such a hard thing as a kid to wrap your head around, because it's like my dream to be a Ghostbuster. And then now we're the Ghostbusters, right? And it's a very similar thing of, we are now brothers, we are now friends, but that took time to get to, and and it's also that thing of, it's rare for us. I don't see Nick on the weekends outside of, it's Tim's birthday, we're doing this, you know what I mean? There's like an event we're doing, or we're all going to see this movie. Like, outside of that, like, that's just not how we all roll and do it, and it works for us. And it is that same thing of, I remember back in the day of, when I first started at IGN, family members or friends you talk to, like, okay, cool, like, you work all day and you go out, who do you hang out with on the weekends? And it's like, the same people I work with, like, we're all friends. And it was that, how that worked at IGN, how it was to be young, how how it is, your friends groups change as you go and age and do all these different things. And so the girls bond us, I think, more than anything else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because Gia and Paul are so close. Jen loves them, and they'll do stuff that then we go out to. Like, they'll organize group things that we'll all go to. But it is that thing that we hang out all day with each other.
Yeah.
That then you go home usually, and it is hanging out with other people.
Yeah.
But to the core of the question again, it all just developed over time. And for me, it was a real. I don't want to say it was a wake up call for me of having been the IGN guy, the guy who was We Are IGN, like the guy who, like, when they let me loose on people who got interviewed, of like, I'd dig through their search history to find out about IGN and what shit they talked. Like, I was always the guy who said, we're a family, IGN is a family, yada yada yada. And it was really lost on me that when people left IGN, we really didn't see him again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not because we hated him, but like, as much as I love Ryan Clements, right? Like, we hung out like twice after he left IGN before he moved away. And we still text every so often now, but it's like, it was this thing of when we left IGN and suddenly I wasn't seeing anybody that I was like their family. It really fucked me up for a while of like, shit, who are my friends then, right? And I remember being standoffish with Tim and Nick for a while of like, and not in a bad way, but in a way of like, cool, we work together, we're coworkers, that's fine, and that's great, we're doing a great thing here, we're making a lot of content and doing, blah blah blah. But it took a long time, I think, for us, and it's just the personal struggles and those intimate moments you share with anybody, right? Of being there for each other when things go wrong, and seeing how it brought us together rather than tear us apart, and see, getting let into each other's personal lives when somebody needs help, or something to that effect's going on, that really takes it up that notch to where you can depend on people, and how you can they'll be there for you.
Yeah. I mean, I think that kind of speaks to as well, like the fact that y'all are so comfortable together that you're not going home thinking about, I have to keep in contact with these people. That relationship's still just going to be there.
Yeah, and it's for sure, it's the thing with I'm usually the guy, at least lately, the first half of this year's been crazy for travel and gigs. So it's like that thing when I'm out of the office for like, what, it's 7 out of the 10 days. Like you come back and it's like, fuck, I missed you guys, and I miss fucking around. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was a weird thing the other month now because it's how time works, but like it was the thing where it was leading up to the showcase, and it was just a rough fucking week, and I just put on Slack of like, I'm going out for a beer after work tonight if anybody wants to come. And like, so, Barrett came, Joey came, and Kevin came, and Tim came. And it was like, we don't do that. And it's that thing of looking around of like, that's weird that we don't do that. Because like our days are so packed and so staggered that it's so rare to get lunch together. Yeah. Like I owed Andrea Olive Garden for getting the Game Awards or whatever wrong. And we're like, cool, we're doing it Thursday. And jump cut to, or Wednesday, right? Because the way we had to do content this week. Jump cut to Wednesday, and the Spider-Man Far From Home in review is going way longer than it should. Yeah. And we're having a great time, and so it's like, Andrea and Joey went to Olive Garden on their own, and then we came out and we like Postmated food and shoved it in our face, and then went and did games. It's just like, even when we try to make that time, it's still hard to make the time because we all are. Let's make this fucking thing. Let's be the best that we can. Let's make the best products we can.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's exactly 1:30. So we
nailed it.
We gotta get you out of here.
Where's Nick?
Thank you so much for coming and doing this with us again. Like it's
oh my
always,
God, it's a pleasure. I love seeing you guys.
I was telling someone yesterday. I was like, if we do Twin Stick Radio, and it just means that like every July we get to sit down with the guys from Kind of Funny and Greg Miller, like that's enough for me.
Yeah, it's our yearly update. You know?
All right. Well, you have a great convention.
You guys too. I love you.
I love you too.
Bye. Bye.